Abandoned hangar on a dead moon for 3 credits. She uncovers a sleeping starship that's worth a fortune. 3 credits. It was laughable. Even the smallest piece of scrap tech sold for more. Lyra's pulse quickened. There had to be a catch. Most abandoned hangars hid nothing but dust, broken machinery, and memories. But something about the sign felt different. She landed her shuttle carefully on a flat stretch of rock, its thrusters stirring up clouds of gray dust that hung like smoke. The hangar loomed ahead, a shadowy silhouette against the dim light of the dead sun. Its doors were rusted and warped, but faint energy lines ran along its surface, hinting at forgotten power. "Too quiet," muttered Lyra, gripping the controls as her boots touched the ground. "Way too quiet." Inside, the air smelled of age and metal. Dust danced in the shafts of sunlight that managed to pierce the hangar's broken roof. Rusted scaffolding leaned against walls lined with forgotten consoles and dead machinery. It looked like no one had been here in decades, or maybe centuries. Lyra moved carefully, scanning each corner with a handheld scanner. Her fingers brushed over control panels, some still glowing faintly with residual energy. There were piles of scrap, crates filled with parts from old ships, and a few skeletal remains of storage robots. Nothing valuable, at least not yet. Then she saw it. The hangar widened, revealing a chamber at the back. And there, resting in quiet majesty, was the ship. It was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Sleek lines stretched across its hull, metal so smooth it looked polished by time itself. The ship's shape was strange but elegant, almost alive, and it sat in a containment field that flickered like a ghostly net. Faint alien markings ran along the hull, glowing softly, almost as if the ship were breathing. Lyra's mouth went dry. This isn't scrap," she whispered. "This is treasure." She approached slowly, careful not to trigger whatever defenses the ship might have. Her scanner beeped and hummed, unable to read the energy signature properly. Whatever technology this ship held was beyond her understanding, and that made it dangerous. Still, danger had never stopped her. Lyra examined the cryochambers that surrounded the ship. Strange, human-like forms rested inside, suspended in some kind of stasis. Their suits were lined with unknown alloys and glowing symbols. She reached out, hesitating. The moment her fingers brushed the hull, a soft hum filled the chamber. Lights along the ship blinked to life, tracing patterns she couldn't understand. A voice echoed inside her helmet. Not human. Not fully alien either. Intruder identified. Intent unknown. Lyra froze, heart pounding. The ship wasn't just sitting here. It was aware. It was alive, and it was watching her. "Easy, easy," she muttered under her breath. "I don't want to hurt you." Her instincts screamed to run, but curiosity rooted her to the spot. She scanned the ship, looking for a way to communicate, to understand. Panels slid open, revealing interfaces filled with symbols and diagrams that made no sense to her. Yet somehow the ship responded to her touch, glowing brighter where her fingers passed. "This is insane," she whispered, almost laughing. "A whole ship, abandoned, and I find it by accident." Her scanner beeped again, this time showing movement outside. She tensed, spinning around. Dust swirled as small forms darted between shadows. Local scavengers? Pirates? She couldn't be sure. Whoever it was, they'd want the ship as much as she did. Lyra's mind raced. Sell the ship for scrap? Too risky. Abandon it? Never. Hide it? Maybe, but how do you hide something this big? The ship itself seemed to hum, almost urging her to stay, to interact. Her fingers danced across the alien interface, mimicking the pattern she saw glowing. A panel slid aside, revealing a small chamber inside the ship. It looked like a cockpit, but more advanced, more alive than any human ship she had ever touched. She climbed inside, heart thundering. Lights pulsed along the walls, a soft glow illuminating her face. The ship's AI, or whatever it was, spoke again, clearer this time. Identity confirmed. Pilot human. Willingness uncertain. Lyra laughed softly, shaking her head. Willingness? I didn't know I had a choice. She tapped a few controls, testing. The ship responded, engines powering softly, systems whirring to life. It wasn't fully awake, but enough to move, to defend itself. She realized with a thrill that she was now part of something bigger than herself, something dangerous, something extraordinary. Outside, the shadows shifted again. This time she saw figures moving with precision, weapons drawn. Scavengers? Mercenaries? She couldn't tell, but she knew one thing. They were coming for the ship. Lyra's mind raced. She needed a plan, but the ship seemed to anticipate her thoughts. A holographic map appeared before her, showing star systems, coordinates, and something she couldn't read. Alien text that pulsed with energy. "Destination unknown," the ship said, its voice softer now, almost curious. Lyra smiled. "Good. Unknown suits me just fine." She activated the engines fully, and the ship shuddered, then lifted slightly off the ground, ignoring the hangar doors that creaked and groaned. Dust and debris fell away as the craft rose, and for a moment Lyra felt the thrill she had always chased. She wasn't just a scavenger anymore. She was a pilot, and this was her ship. But as she prepared to leave, her scanner picked up something impossible. Beneath the surface of the moon, deep in the craters, a massive energy signature pulsed. The ship reacted instantly, lights blinking rapidly as if warning her. Lyra's stomach dropped. Whatever was down there, it wasn't abandoned, and it wasn't friendly. Her communicator crackled. A voice, distorted and rough, came through. "Step away from the ship, scavenger. That craft belongs to the Syndicate now. You have 5 minutes to comply." Lyra gritted her teeth. The Syndicate had resources she had no hope of matching, but she had something they didn't: ingenuity. She glanced around the cockpit, taking stock of the alien controls, the glowing maps, the unknown power at her fingertips. The ship hummed in response, almost impatiently. She smiled. "Then we don't have 5 minutes," she said. With a flick of her wrist, she initiated the ship's cloaking sequence. Outside, the hangar seemed to vanish. Dust swirled in the dim light as shadows searched in vain for the craft. Lyra felt a surge of pride. Human cleverness, improvisation, and courage had bought her a chance. The moon's dead silence returned, but now it was only a temporary calm. Lyra knew the moment she stepped into space, she would be hunted. But she didn't care. She was ready. As the hangar disappeared behind her, she couldn't stop staring at the controls, the glowing alien symbols, the sleeping potential of the starship she had just awoken. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. "And humanity isn't about to lose." Deep below, the energy signature pulsed again, stronger this time, as if the moon itself had awakened. Lyra's ship shivered in response, engines humming in harmony with the unknown force. Somewhere out there, something was watching, waiting, and testing her. And Lyra? She was ready. The dead moon shrank behind her as Lyra Voss guided the sleek alien ship through the dusty orbit. The hangar that had hidden the starship was now a fading memory, swallowed by shadows. She still couldn't believe what she had found. A sleeping starship worth more than entire colonies, and it had responded to her touch. Somehow she had awakened it. Somehow she had survived the hangar's dangers. But the thrill of discovery didn't last long. Her scanners were buzzing now, not with dust or empty craters, but with movement. Small, fast ships, their silhouettes sharp against the black sky, were closing in. Mercenaries, pirates, syndicate enforcers. Whoever they were, they wanted her prize, and they wouldn't take no for an answer. Lyra gripped the controls, heart hammering. She had one advantage. The ship wasn't fully awake yet, but it was already smarter than anything she had flown. She wasn't a trained pilot for advanced alien tech, but she didn't need to be. Humans thrived on adaptability, instinct, and improvisation. "Where to first?" she whispered, unsure if the ship could answer. It did. A panel glowed beneath her hands. Alien symbols arranging themselves into a rough map. Coordinate star systems and strange pulsing lights appeared. It wasn't just a ship. It was a navigator, a repository of unknown knowledge, and, Lyra realized, a weapon waiting to be understood. The mercenary ships appeared closer now. They were fast, sleek, and armed with energy weapons designed to disable or destroy. Lyra didn't panic. She pressed a few buttons, testing the ship's systems. Engines whirred to life with a hum deeper than anything she had ever felt. Energy fields flared faintly around the hull. The ship was alive, and it was responding to her. Her first instinct was defense. She activated the shields, a soft golden glow expanding around the ship. The pursuers fired. Energy bolts struck the field with sparks and vibrations, but the ship absorbed the hits. Lyra felt a thrill. She had never flown anything like this, but the moment she learned to trust the ship, it responded. It trusted her, or at least tolerated her. Good. That's good, she muttered. Let's see what else you can do. The ship vibrated beneath her hands, almost impatient. Its internal systems projected a series of holographic screens in front of her. Alien writing flashed, along with diagrams of its energy flow and systems. Lyra's eyes darted across the unfamiliar symbols, trying to make sense of them. She didn't need to read them all. She only needed to understand enough to survive. The first feature she discovered was the ship's self-repair capability. Small damages from enemy fire healed almost instantly. Panels mended themselves, circuits realigned, and shields reinforced. Lyra's grin widened. If the pursuers thought they could hit her and win, they had underestimated humanity's luck and cleverness. Next, she discovered a cloaking system, one that could render the ship nearly invisible to sensors and visual scanners. She activated it cautiously. The world outside flickered, then disappeared. The enemy ships were still there, scanning, shooting, but they couldn't see her anymore. Nice, she whispered. Not bad for a human pilot. She piloted the ship through asteroid fields, weaving between jagged rocks and broken satellites. Her pursuers fired blindly, their energy bolts bouncing harmlessly off rocks. Lyra relied on instinct, on the same human cunning that had kept her alive on dead moons for years. The alien ship amplified her ingenuity, giving her an advantage she couldn't have imagined. But the ship had secrets of its own. A small compartment slid open in the cockpit, revealing strange alien devices. Some pulsed softly with light, others emitted a faint hum. Lyra picked up one, and a holographic projection filled the cockpit. A star map, much more detailed than anything she had ever seen, showed star systems, wormholes, and points marked with glowing symbols. Her pulse quickened. This is a map, she breathed. A treasure map. The symbols weren't human, but the ship made them readable, translating them into a language she could understand. Somewhere out there, hidden in the stars, lay a lost starforge, capable of creating technology far beyond anything humans had invented. And the ship was leading her straight to it. But she wasn't the only one who wanted the prize. The pursuers regrouped, forming a tight formation around her. Lyra realized they were no amateurs. Syndicate pilots, trained for this kind of interception. She needed more than stealth. She needed strategy. She glanced at the ship's systems. Gravity fields, energy pulsars, adaptive shields. She hadn't even begun to explore them fully. Her mind raced, improvising. A plan formed. Use the ship's environment, the asteroid fields, and her unpredictability to outmaneuver them. Humans were clever, unpredictable, and that was her greatest weapon. She accelerated into a dense field of asteroids. Rocks tumbled and spun, creating natural barriers. The pursuers followed, but she had anticipated their patterns. She released a small pulse from the ship that pushed asteroids outward, creating sudden obstacles. Enemy ships collided with rocks, energy shields flashing, engines struggling. Human cleverness strikes again, she said with a grin. The pursuers were fast, but they weren't human. They didn't think like her. They didn't improvise. And that was the difference. As the battle continued, Lyra discovered the ship's internal drones, small autonomous machines that could scout, repair, or even defend. She released one, and it zipped silently through the field. tagging enemy ships and projecting false signals. The pursuers fired at phantoms, wasting energy and losing formation. For the first time, she allowed herself a moment of pride. She was not just surviving, she was winning. Human ingenuity combined with alien power was unstoppable, but her victory was temporary. The star map pulsed again, highlighting a distant system. A red symbol blinked urgently, the location of the Star Forge. She realized the ship was guiding her, almost impatiently, towards something monumental. Suddenly, the pursuers adapted. One ship broke formation, diving straight toward her. It fired a high-energy net designed to disable engines. Lyra's heart pounded. She had one chance. She activated the ship's energy displacement field, a force she barely understood. The net froze mid-air, twisted, and then exploded harmlessly. The pursuing ship was thrown off course, crashing into a small asteroid. "Lucky human," the ship's voice said, almost amused. "Not luck," Lyra replied. "Skill." She couldn't stop now. Every second counted. The Syndicate would regroup, send more forces. The Starforge wasn't waiting for her, but her rivals wouldn't either. As she sped toward the coordinates, she explored another feature of the ship, a hidden cargo bay. Panels slid open to reveal alien artifacts, strange devices pulsing with energy. She handled one carefully, and a holographic projection appeared. The alien technology was advanced, powerful, and dangerous. One wrong move could destroy her ship, or worse, her. But Lyra had never been afraid of risk. She examined the projection, making mental notes. This technology could change everything. Shields, engines, weapons, energy sources. Humanity had never seen anything like it. A new sound alerted her. The pursuers were calling reinforcements. Faster ships, bigger, more aggressive. Lyra realized the fight was far from over. But she didn't panic. She had something they didn't: unpredictability, adaptability, and a ship that responded to her instincts. She tapped a sequence on the control panel. The ship vibrated, engines flaring slightly. The pursuers approached again, confident this time. But Lyra had a plan. She released a pulse, activating the ship's holographic cloaks across nearby asteroids. The rocks shimmered, turning invisible to sensors. The pursuers fired blindly into empty space. "Humans think differently," she muttered. "We improvise." The ship hummed in agreement, almost joyfully. Lyra laughed, the sound echoing in the cockpit. For the first time, she felt truly alive, not a scavenger hiding from danger, but a pilot commanding a sleeping giant. Her scanners beeped urgently. Another signal appeared, not enemy, but unknown. A faint pulse, deep in an uncharted system. She realized the Starforge was close. The ship pulsed in response almost impatiently, urging her forward. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding," she said. "I'm ready." Outside, the stars streaked past as she navigated toward the unknown. Danger waited at every turn. The Syndicate, rival scavengers, unknown alien forces. But Lyra Voss had never backed down from danger, and she would not start now. Somewhere ahead, the sleeping giant of the Starforge awaited, and Lyra, human ingenuity blazing, was ready to wake it. The stars stretched endlessly before Lyra Voss as the alien ship cut through the void. The dead moon behind her was now just a distant dot, a memory of the place where she had found the ship that would change everything. But the calm of space was deceiving. Danger followed her relentlessly, and the galaxy held more threats than she had ever imagined. The Syndicate wasn't the only one after the Starship. Small ships, sleek and deadly, were closing in from multiple directions. Pirates, rival scavengers, and mercenary fleets had joined the hunt. Lyra's scanners buzzed constantly, warning her of approaching threats. She didn't panic. Humans had survived worse, and humans had always won by being clever. The alien ship seemed to sense her resolve. Systems hummed in sync with her thoughts, engines flaring slightly as if urging her forward. She ran her hands over the controls, testing its hidden capabilities. The longer she flew, the more she understood. This wasn't just a ship. It was a weapon, a guide, and a vault of secrets. Her first challenge came quickly. A swarm of fast ships approached from a narrow asteroid belt. Lyra gritted her teeth. She had to pass through without taking damage. "Time to improvise," she muttered. She guided the ship into the belt, weaving between massive rocks with instinctive precision. The pursuers followed, confident in their numbers. But Lyra wasn't relying on luck. She tapped a panel, and a field of shimmering energy pulsed from the ship, pushing loose asteroids outward. Rocks slammed into the enemy ships, causing sparks and explosions. One vessel spun out of control, colliding with a massive boulder. Lyra exhaled, her heart racing. "Not bad for a human pilot," she whispered to the ship. The alien vessel responded with a soft hum, almost approving. The next discovery was inside the ship itself, a hidden cargo bay filled with alien artifacts. Lyra carefully opened the compartments, revealing devices that pulsed with energy and projected holograms of distant star systems. One artifact displayed a glowing map of the galaxy, highlighting a single location, the Lost Star Forge. Her pulse quickened. The ship wasn't just powerful, it was guiding her. And the Star Forge wasn't just a treasure. It was the key to technology far beyond human comprehension. But the galaxy was not quiet. New ships appeared on the scanners, larger and more aggressive than before. Lyra realized she couldn't outrun them forever. She had to fight, but she also had to think differently. Humans survived by being unpredictable, and that would be her advantage. She activated the ship's cloaking system, rendering it nearly invisible to sensors. The pursuing fleet slowed, scanning blindly. Lyra smiled. They expected predictable moves, but humans thrived on improvisation. She accelerated through the asteroid belt, leading the pursuers into traps. Rocks exploded around them, engines flaring as ships collided or were forced off course. One of the pursuers, more experienced than the rest, broke formation and aimed directly at her. Lyra had seconds to react. She pressed a sequence on the control panel, activating the ship's gravity manipulation system. A pulse radiated outward, twisting space slightly around the enemy ship. It spun uncontrollably, hitting an asteroid and breaking apart. "Adapt or die," she whispered. "That's human logic." The ship hummed again, projecting a holographic display of a nearby star system. It was unknown, uncharted. The map pulsed urgently, marking coordinates closer to the Star Forge. Lyra realized that every system they passed, the ship learned, adapted, and prepared. It wasn't just following her. It was testing her, challenging her. As they entered the new system, Lyra encountered something she hadn't anticipated. A derelict space station, enormous and ancient, orbiting a gas giant. Sensors indicated it was filled with energy, but also booby-trapped. Most pilots would avoid it, but she saw opportunity. She maneuvered the ship into the station, carefully avoiding collapsing debris and malfunctioning defenses. Inside, she discovered fragments of alien tech, small drones that repaired themselves in the ship, and a storage bay containing alien power cells. These cells could enhance the ship's capabilities if used correctly. Lyra experimented, carefully placing one into the ship's systems. A surge of energy flowed through the vessel, unlocking new functions. Shields strengthened, engines accelerated, and a new interface glowed with alien writing translated into simple coordinates and warnings. Her eyes widened. The ship was teaching her, almost communicating with her in a language only humans could interpret. Action, intuition, and understanding. Outside the station, the fleet had caught up. A massive battle seemed inevitable, but Lyra had a plan. She guided the ship toward the gas giant's rings, a chaotic field of ice and rock. Using the ship's gravity manipulation, she twisted asteroids into barriers, creating a labyrinth no pursuer could navigate efficiently. Enemy ships fired blindly, engines overloading as they collided with debris. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, improvising at every second. The alien ship responded instantly, almost instinctively, amplifying her maneuvers. She realized something incredible. Humans didn't need the fastest ships or the most powerful weapons. Humans survived because they were unpredictable. One by one, the pursuers were disabled or forced to retreat. The few remaining ships were smaller, slower, and cautious. Lyra smiled. Human ingenuity had won again, but the victory was short-lived. A new reading appeared on the ship's map. A massive fleet, unknown origin, much larger and more advanced than any human technology she had faced. Their energy signatures were overwhelming, their numbers intimidating. Lyra felt a flicker of doubt. This wasn't just a fight. This was a challenge to humanity itself. She pressed a hand to the controls, feeling the ship's pulse through her fingertips. It responded to her thoughts, her intentions, almost as if it trusted her. She smiled a fierce, determined grin. Humans survived against impossible odds, and humans adapted. She would survive this too. The fleet was approaching fast. Lyra calculated her options: run, fight, or hide. Hiding wouldn't work. They could scan every system. Fighting alone was suicide. But the ship had capabilities she had barely explored: energy displacement, gravity manipulation, self-repairing systems, and the cloaking field. She activated the cloaking system again, blending into the void. Then, using the gravity manipulation, she created decoys, mimicking her ship's energy signature. The fleet fired at illusions, wasting energy and scattering their formation. Lyra's pulse quickened as she guided the ship through asteroid belts, debris fields, and gas clouds, staying just ahead of detection. For the first time, she allowed herself to think of the possibilities. The Starforge wasn't just a prize, it was a key to human advancement. Technology beyond imagination, energy sources beyond comprehension, and weapons that could defend humanity from any threat. If she reached it, humanity's place in the galaxy would change forever. But there was no time for dreams. The fleet was adapting, forming new patterns, anticipating her moves. Lyra's mind raced. Improvisation wasn't enough. She needed strategy, foresight, and courage, the very traits that made humans strong. She remembered the ship's hidden drones from the derelict station. Quickly, she deployed them, instructing them to interfere with the fleet's sensors and communications. The drones zipped through space, creating false signals, jamming transmissions, and confusing enemy ships. Humans think differently, she muttered. We improvise, we adapt, we survive. The alien ship pulsed in agreement, almost as if proud. Lyra felt a connection she had never imagined. The ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a partner, a reflection of human ingenuity, and a testament to what could be achieved when humans faced the impossible. The fleet regrouped, closing in from all directions. Lyra knew this was the ultimate test. She took a deep breath, fingers flying over controls. Using every trick, every instinct, she guided the ship into a field of floating planetoids, using the terrain to mask their approach. The fleet followed, but they weren't prepared for human creativity. Rocks shifted unpredictably, energy pulses disrupted their weapons, and confusion spread through their ranks. Lyra's grin widened. She wasn't just escaping, she was winning on her terms. Humans had always survived by thinking differently, by being bold, by turning disadvantage into opportunity. And now, with this alien ship, she had the tools to do even more. The Starforge pulsed on the holographic map, closer now than ever. Lyra felt the excitement building. Soon, she would discover its secrets. Soon, humanity would witness the power of one determined human pilot, commanding a sleeping giant that even the galaxy had underestimated. But for now, the fleet still lurked, shadows in the void. Lyra knew the next encounter would be harder, more dangerous. The galaxy would test her, test the ship, test human ingenuity itself, and she was ready. "We're not done yet," she whispered to the ship. "Let's show them what humans can do." And with that, Lyra Voss accelerated into the unknown, the sleeping giant humming in anticipation, guiding her toward the Starforge, toward destiny, and toward a future where humanity would no longer be underestimated. The void of space stretched endlessly around Lyra Voss as she guided the alien starship toward the coordinates marked on the glowing map. The Starforge lay ahead, a hidden world of unimaginable technology. She could feel the ship vibrating beneath her hands, alive with power, almost impatient. It had taken her this far, and now it was time to face the final challenge. Her scanner screamed warnings. The massive fleet from the unknown origin was closing in, faster and larger than anything she had faced before. These ships weren't human. Their energy signatures were enormous, their formations precise, their weapons far beyond human design. One misstep could destroy them all. Lyra took a deep breath. She had faced impossible odds before. But this was different. This was not just a test of skill or cleverness. It was a test of humanity itself. Humans had always survived because they were adaptable, unpredictable, and bold. And Lyra intended to prove it. She activated the ship's full capabilities. Shields flared to life, stronger and brighter than ever. Engines hummed with power, energy displacement fields shimmering around the hull. The cloaking system flickered for a moment, then settled into a steady pulse. The ship was awake, fully alive, responding to her every thought. "They don't know what they're up against," she whispered. The enemy fleet advanced. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect formation, weapons ready. Lyra gritted her teeth and smiled. Perfect formation meant predictability, and humans thrived on unpredictability. She guided the ship into a nearby asteroid field. Massive rocks tumbled and floated in chaotic patterns. Lyra used the ship's gravity manipulation system to shift their trajectories, creating sudden walls of stone that forced enemy ships to swerve, collide, or break formation. Energy pulses from the alien ship disrupted their sensors, making targeting nearly impossible. The first wave of attackers faltered. Their numbers were impressive, but they weren't human. They hadn't considered improvisation. They hadn't considered cunning. Lyra exploited every weakness she could find, turning rocks into shields, empty space into traps, and her ship into a weapon they couldn't understand. A larger ship broke formation and aimed directly at her, weapons blazing. Lyra's heart pounded. She activated the alien ship's energy displacement system. A pulse radiated outward, warping space just enough to throw the enemy ship off course. It slammed into an asteroid with a deafening crash. "Not bad for a human," she muttered, laughter bubbling despite the tension. The ship responded with a hum, almost approving. She wasn't done yet. The Starforge's coordinates were close now, pulsing urgently on the holographic display. She guided the ship through a field of floating planetoids, using the terrain as cover. The fleet followed, but every maneuver she made exploited their rigidity. They could anticipate predictable moves, but humans were never predictable. Inside the ship, Lyra discovered the last hidden system, the Starforge interface. Panels slid open to reveal a massive array of alien controls, each glowing with potential energy. She had no idea how it worked, but instinct told her the basics. She placed her hands on the main console and allowed the ship to guide her. Symbols shifted, sequences illuminated, and the Starforge's hidden power responded. The fleet realized she was unlocking something. Their attacks intensified, weapons firing in a synchronized barrage. Energy bolts struck the alien shields, but Lyra had anticipated this. She released a pulse from the ship, a shimmering wave that deflected projectiles and threw the enemy fleet into chaos. Ships collided with asteroids, engines overloaded, and smaller vessels were torn apart by gravity distortions. The larger ships hesitated. They had never encountered a force like this. A single human pilot, commanding a sleeping giant, had turned the battlefield into a deadly trap. Lyra's mind raced. She had to finish this. She tapped another sequence on the Starforge interface. Energy surged through the ship, flowing outward in controlled pulses that reached the enemy fleet. Systems overloaded, weapons failed, and communications jammed. The massive alien fleet had no choice but to retreat. Victory was not easy, but it was decisive. The void fell silent again, stars twinkling innocently around her as if nothing had happened. Lyra exhaled, exhaustion and exhilaration mixing in her veins. She had survived the impossible, outsmarted the unstoppable, and claimed the prize. The Starforge pulsed before her, a massive station orbiting a luminous star. Its design was unlike anything human eyes had seen. Spires of glowing metal, rotating platforms, and energy conduits that stretched across space like veins of light. Lyra guided the ship inside cautiously. Inside the forge, alien machines hummed with potential energy. Holographic maps showed resources, technology, and artifacts beyond comprehension. Lyra carefully explored, documenting everything she could. This technology was capable of powering entire planets, creating weapons, or advancing civilization centuries in a single step. But Lyra didn't feel fear. She felt responsibility. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but she would make sure that humanity would never be underestimated again. She carefully activated the Forge's systems, allowing her to interface directly with alien technology. She didn't need to understand every detail. Her instincts combined with the ship's guidance were enough. As she worked, she realized something profound. The ship had chosen her not just for skill, but for humanity's qualities: ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. The Forge was not just a treasure, it was a test, a reward for the species that could rise above the ordinary. She made a decision. The power of the Starforge could be used selfishly, hoarded, or sold. But she wouldn't. Humanity needed this. She would bring the knowledge and technology back, not just for herself, but for everyone. Her ship hummed in agreement, lights pulsing softly, almost as if proud. Lyra felt a connection unlike anything she had known. Humans had survived because they dared, because they improvised, because they believed in themselves even when the odds were impossible. And now, humanity had a weapon, a guide, and a new future. With careful precision, she set coordinates for home. The alien ship responded instantly, engines flaring, shields strengthening. The Starforge's energy flowed through the vessel, guiding her safely through the void. She didn't need to fight anymore. The galaxy now respected her presence. As she traveled, Lyra reflected on everything that had happened. From the abandoned hangar on a dead moon, to awakening the sleeping starship, to outsmarting fleets, she had relied on her wits, courage, and human instinct. The galaxy had underestimated humans. That mistake would never happen again. The Starforge behind her glowed in the distance, a silent reminder of the power she now commanded. And ahead of her, countless stars beckoned, promising new challenges, discoveries, and opportunities. Lyra knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had survived worse, adapted faster, and now it would thrive. For the first time in years, Lyra allowed herself to smile. She had done what no one else could. She had turned an impossible situation into triumph, and she had proven what humans could achieve when courage and ingenuity guided their actions. The void stretched endlessly, full of danger and possibility. But Lyra Voss, with her alien ship and the knowledge of the Starforge, was ready. Humanity would rise. Humanity would thrive. And the galaxy would remember that humans were not to be underestimated. As she accelerated toward the next unknown star system, Lyra whispered softly, "Let's see what comes next. Humanity is ready." And with that, the ship hummed, alive and waiting, carrying one human pilot and the potential of an entire species into the vast, endless void of space.